I'm jumping on it.
Hey, how's
Hey, what's up, man?
it going? Hey, we're locked in. It's officially live on the Kickblock podcast. My name is Nick,
I'm Dro.
and we're two friends from New York, super passionate about Web3, and so we decided to start a podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking every week, interviewing new guests from around the world that are building in the space. Super passionate. We're going to be talking to artists. We're going to be talking to developers. We're going to be talking to just
Each other.
random, yeah, just random NFT guys. When we can't book an artist, we'll just be talking to each other. But yeah, super excited to start this conversation. And we have a great couple lineup. We have a lot of awesome guests coming to you live the next couple of weeks, and so super excited to start off on this journey here. This
Yeah,
first,
we've been wanting to do this for so long, Nick. I'm glad
yeah,
that we finally got this
yeah.
going. And honestly, we found something that we both love talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
And we just want to tell everybody about it. So I
Yeah,
can't shut
yeah.
up about it personally. So I'm really
I feel
excited
like
to get
once you
kicked
fall
off
into
the
the rabbit hole,
podcast. Yeah, you find that one article, that one video, and you
yeah.
just keep clicking in. And next thing you know, if you're me, you're 72 hours in, you haven't slept that much, and
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And I feel like the crypto space also moves at a different pace too. Like I feel like you'll see, like it'll just be like a week of time. You felt like it's like a full quarter, and nobody else knows what's knows what's going on in the rest of the world. So you're like,
yeah, and meanwhile, you look up and companies are being acquired for like billions of dollars, and you're like, what?
exactly, exactly. You're like, wait, what just happened?
So it's gonna be so cool to talk all about all of that, and kind of let the audience know like what we've learned so far, because I'm still learning so much, right? And
Yeah.
I just got into development. I know you've had a little bit of a background in it, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I guess like our vision for this is that like each week, like I mentioned before, we're going to be bringing in new guests. We're going to be talking about current events, what happened in the past week in crypto, and then we're going to also be talking about who is big in the space that we think is like really important to follow, that's putting out great content or is great at educating people. And so hopefully people who are just trying to get into the space, like if you don't know a lot about it, this is the place to be. We're figuring it out too. So we're definitely
Yeah.
not experts, but we're gonna be learning alongside you guys, and so super excited to get started.
Yeah, man. And I mean, with that, I said, let's kick it off and let these people know how we even started on it. So
Yeah,
my name's Dro. I work out over here in the New York area. I got into crypto because I just kind of heard of it for so long.
yeah,
Actually, I'll start us off, Nick. We have
yeah,
a fraternity brother. Me and Nick have known each other for super long now,
yeah.
who wouldn't stop talking about Bitcoin back in like
Yo,
2012. You
way
know,
back in the day.
And I would walk into his room and just play NBA 2K. Meanwhile, he's over there setting up his bot miners, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, come play this game. He's like, hold on, I'm buying up some
Everybody's like going to internships. He's like making more money than we would ever know. Why were we wasting times
Yeah.
like making resumes and stuff?
So that's the first time I heard about
Mm,
any of this. Was
yeah,
like that early, and like a lot of people, I didn't do anything about it. You
yeah,
know, until probably like the last few months, I got
yeah,
into that rabbit hole we talked about, and next
yeah.
thing you know, I'm buying NFTs, I'm
Hey.
holding altcoins, I'm learning about meme coins,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a little
DeFi,
doge in your system.
all these acronyms that I have. I was like, all right, whoa,
There's a
I
lot of like three-letter words.
a lot. Yeah.
This
People
like
just
I'm like,
get
yo, what's going on?
lazy.
Yeah,
They just don't
exactly.
want to say the whole thing anymore.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm the same way. Like I was learning about this since like 2012, 2013. Didn't buy in because I was just like, what's going on? I'm very like, I don't know. I'm very like sketched out by like the dark web. I'm not like the
Yeah,
type to like, I don't know, like go into like there was like whole people
right.
were majority just using it for like Silk Road activities, like no snitching, but like like what I'm saying?
Well, that's what you heard back then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Back
exactly.
then, what you would hear is this is being used by cartels to launder
Yeah,
money or clean money,
yeah,
or
yeah.
people are
Order
mining
hits,
it.
and I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not. If I'm gonna order my hits, I'm gonna order them the old-fashioned way. Okay, I don't. I don't need your fancy internet money to get somebody clapped.
Yeah, and so back then I didn't buy. I know I didn't buy in just because
Yeah,
it felt like to me I didn't get it
yeah,
ultimately, right?
mm,
And I think that's what a lot of people kind of feel like even right now with it becoming a little bit more mainstream.
yeah.
You know, people just the question they ask is, well, what is it? You know, like
What does
what
it
is all of
do?
it?
What's
Yeah.
the benefit? And then also, I think that the big thing that like almost is like sad to see for me is that like the communities and people I would expect to just be most identifying with the technology and with like the prospects with what Web3 represents, like absolutely do not mess with it, right? Like gamers are like,
Yeah.
oh no, get out of here, don't put that on Discord. Or like artists are like, yo, if I see an NFT, bro, like get them out of here. And it's like, it's almost kind of sad because it's like,
Yeah.
talk a little bit about like Web3. What does Web3 mean to you? Because it almost feels like something that like marginalized groups and like people who are looking for more buy-in into the system should be learning more about.
Well, I was surprised
Yeah,
at this being one of the first times that I heard it, being that I work in software, right? I work in an industry that is supposed to be cutting edge, and Web3 isn't new in the sense of it didn't come out in the last few months, right?
yeah,
And right now it's such a big buzzword. You
yeah,
have Facebook doing, the Meta company.
yeah,
You have all these, the metaverse coming up
yeah,
and
yeah,
people calling that Web3. What it all means is something that's could take like an hour to explain, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think at its core, we have this great quote, right, that we
All right, cool.
found, right,
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
wanted to talk about. And I think this is a great time to talk about it. And the quote here that I'm gonna just say before we even talk about the definition
yeah. Hmm.
is that it's an internet owned by users and builders orchestrated with tokens.
Hmm.
And what we hope to do with this podcast, I think, is help everybody understand what that is. Because I know I had no idea what that meant when I
Yeah,
first started. I was like, what do you mean I own things on the internet? Like, I get to
yeah.
own a piece of it. What is this
When you say
blockchain?
token, what does fungible mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And I
yeah,
think where it all starts, Nick, and I think
mhm,
a great thing to talk about right now is the blockchain,
yeah,
right? Because that's fundamentally what enables all of this,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And you have the first, the white papers for Bitcoin,
Hmm.
and that's what the one coin that everybody hears about.
Hmm.
Ethereum, a hot coin right now on the market
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
everybody knows about. Where does it come from? How can it exist? Like what is it all, right? And so for that, we're gonna talk about the blockchain, and that kind of
Yeah,
inspires our title of this podcast,
yeah,
the
kickbox.
Kickbox Podcast. And so the blockchain is really interesting in
Uh-huh.
that you can't lie about anything anymore. Everything is just public. Everybody sees everything. Like
Yo, no sneaky linking on the blockchain. Yeah, everybody.
no sneaky links on the blockchain whatsoever. If you are
Yeah,
into anything grimy, nasty, if you are
nefarious.
scamming people out here,
Don't
if
do it.
you are stealing anything, it's out there. It's public. Everybody
Hmm.
can see it.
Hmm.
And I think at its core, it's the ability to be able to guarantee and promise that to the public that
Yeah,
it can keep a record of everything that's ever happened securely.
yeah,
I think
because
fundamentally that's the key to the
yeah, yeah.
blockchain.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree there. Because I think the in the expansive human history, we've always needed an intermediary, right? There's always have to been a central trusted location. If I want to transact with you, I don't know if I can trust you, like to give me the deed to your house. If I give you this much money, I need somebody in
Yeah.
between us, right? And what is the blockchain? It is a ledger, like right, a record of accounts that can't be changed. So now I don't need a middleman, right? And tech has been tackling middleman after middleman after middleman throughout the ages, right? We took out,
Mhm.
it took out media, right? And it took, and allowed people to communicate directly with their fans, and it took out finance, right? And we have Robinhood, and we're being able to trade directly. And I guess this is a new type of middleman that we're taking out, right? And so
Mhm.
more and more intermediaries are being like pushed out of the way, and it's now just like, hey, it's just me and you. It's just us owning our data, owning our records, owning our information. And I think that's sort of what Web3 is all about,
I
changing sort of those
love it.
incentive structures. That I think is going to be cool to see what people build on that, and what how do people act differently. I I did a lot of research on blockchain. I was writing papers on this back in college. I did like behavioral economic stuff, and it was interesting to me to think about, how do people behave differently in different environments? How do you act when all of your data is out there? How do you act when differently when somebody else owns your data? And I think that it's exciting to think about the projects you can build, how you can incentivize people to come onto your project if you have those types of incentives.
Right. And at the core, kind of, because this the first major project that we saw
Yeah.
was Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? That was the first major global project that we all saw.
Hmm.
And from that, it was at its core financial. It's a token, right? It's a
Yeah.
coin, right? And sorry, it's a coin. And what is it going to replace? Banks.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really scary for some people.
Hmm.
That's where it's very easy to get into this routine, especially in this new ecosystem of thinking of things as scams,
Yeah.
because it's challenging things that are so fundamental to society.
Yeah.
Banks, right? That was like a huge part of civilization, like understanding is like we need a bank because
Yeah.
Nick, you're cool, but
Yeah.
do I want to give you money?
Yeah.
Like
I
loads
need
of
to know
money.
what your credit looks like. I need to...
Exactly, for the sake of business,
Yeah.
right? We all realize we need banks in this world, and
Hmm.
I think with the inception of Bitcoin and with the inception of all these coins, it's decentralizing in its and when you say decentralizing, right? Well, what was central? What was central to all this?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's banks, right? And it's all
Hmm.
these countries um reserves and I think without getting too technical and deep into that, I
Yeah.
think it's just really important to understand that all of this comes from a foundation of taking away from one person owning everything
Hmm.
to and being able to control to you and I having the ability to decide how society should handle all our coins,
Yeah.
how who owns things, and
Yeah.
how transparent things are, without having to rely on what now everybody in society can see as big greedy banks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So people
Uh,
say, how do we solve that? How do we solve greed? Well, how about you take it out of the hands of the greedy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, and give it to everybody else to be able to hold it.
Give it
And the
to
thing is
everyone.
that once you have that type of technology, once you're able to share, it changes people's behavior. You can no
Hmm.
longer afford to hike up prices if everyone can just up and leave, right? If everyone has access to their own data, they can just build a new front end and they can access all that data somewhere else. And so it really incentivizes groups and organizations to act in the best interest of the people that they're trying to serve, right? And so it really will spur innovation. It's not like people can't make, fortunes in this industry. It's just that like you need to be fair, you need to be sharing, you need, or else it's just not going
Yeah,
to work.
yeah.
And so yeah, I think that those are like some really interesting points there. You talked about Bitcoin, so that's sort of like the digital gold, right? So that's, and we'll have a
You know, they
episode,
call it a boomer coin now.
no, no, don't do that. No, no, they're gonna come for you. I didn't say that. That was Dro. That was Dro on the puck. That was not
Hey,
Nick.
look,
Just want
look,
to clarify
I'm
that the
learning,
Bitcoin Maxers are gonna
right?
come for you. So
I'm
just wanna,
learning the same way everybody is.
yeah,
They call
either
it a
you know you're
boomer
gonna learn today. You're
coin.
gonna learn today when they come for you.
Look, I don't call it a boomer coin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
Oh, you're just
call it
gonna
a
bring it
boomer
up. Yeah,
coin.
yeah, yeah. You won't even
I'm
hear
just
me
gonna bring
before.
it up.
I won't even come in my mouth. But yeah, so we had Bitcoin come out, and so we'll have a whole episode on Bitcoin. Dive into it. Dive into the white paper. Dive into Satoshi. But after that, we're gonna sort of get into sort of Ethereum, right? So that was the
Yeah.
next step. And once we had digital gold, it was like, okay, cool. So we have distributed money system. Can we have distributed computing systems? And what is the world like when you have contracts that are written on a
Hmm.
blockchain, right? If you can write a piece of code that says when this happens automatically, do you need a central like organization to be facilitating those things? maybe not. And so you can develop a lot of the things in the financial system. That's why we had, decentralized finance, right? DeFi summer.
Mhm.
These things are exploding and coming out so rapidly because it's just a whole new paradigm, a level for developers to explore, play. And I think a big thing about developers too is that there's a lot of promise in Web 1, right? And we built a lot of like crazy great infrastructure things, right? Like email, right? Nobody owns email. That's just like a open infrastructure. You can
Yeah.
build a platform, but in Web 2 that sort of was taken away, right? We had the rise of things like Facebook and rise of things like Amazon and Google, right? They sucked in all the data, made walled gardens, and now Web 3 is here, and everybody's like, okay, cool. The builders are ready to build, and we're not going to get it taken away from us this time. And so that I think is really exciting to see the next layer of platform being built.
And you mentioned contracts, right, with Ethereum and smart
Yeah,
contracts and how pivotal that it was. I
yeah,
love that they call them smart contracts
yeah,
because if anybody has ever read through an actual legal contract,
yeah.
I feel super dumb reading through it. Like I really do. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
never understand. Like it's not for me. It really is. And so the
It's
fact that
not.
they call like for our audience here, Ethereum allows developers to go in and with Web3, the way that Nick just introduced it and laid it out, it's perfect to kind of read out this definition right now.
Yeah.
Web3 refers to the decentralized web and usually encompasses both decentralized applications and decentralized finance, DeFi, including cryptocurrencies, assets, or tokens. It's a whole new philosophy for how the
Hmm.
web should be managed and users should access it. In Web3 world, we're no longer dependent on monolithic centralized authorities like governments, big tech, and Wall Street. Right? And to tie all that in, with smart contracts, it gives the web browser, you're on Google Chrome, you go to facebook.com or youtube.com, Twitch, Amazon, Netflix, whatever all the most visited sites are. And right now the interactions all have been the same for the better part of almost 2 decades now, right?
Hmm.
You go in, you log in, you can post something online for people to see, and that was Web 2, right? And for a while, people were asking if, what does Web3 look like? And the reason that we're saying that this is what Web3 looks like is because of what the blockchain delivers,
Yeah.
right? The decentralized web means now that on Twitter, you can go in and you can set your profile picture, your avatar, to be your NFT,
Hmm.
right? Right there, it is interacting you know, with Web3, with the whole ecosystem in a way.
Hmm.
And so one of the important things to remember here is with Web3, the biggest part is that you own part of it. And that to
Hmm.
me was what excited me the most, right? Because
Yeah.
that can lead to so many little things when you just kind of like that light bulb switches where I don't own anything on the internet. If I put out a video on YouTube, I get royalties. But
Hmm.
I don't own that MP4 file technically.
Yeah.
I There's a law structure, there's
Yeah.
IP laws, there's all these things around it to help me, but there's no trace to say this MP4 file of this video that got 5 million views
Yeah. Is
is
mine versus
is
somebody
mine
else's. Yeah.
versus somebody else's.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, that I can prove that I uploaded it on YouTube and I have the password to my account and
Yeah.
I am who I
Yeah. Yeah.
am,
I feel you, I feel you.
you know?
I,
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way I sort of think about it is like that too, right? So the ownership of things that like couldn't be owned before, but I almost think about it too as like the the lack of ownership, the things that were that of things that were only owned before, right? So, and that might seem a little bit convoluted, but I have a metaphor. If you think about Web 3 and Web 2 in the context of like public spaces, right? Web 2 would be like Disneyland, and Web 3 is like Central Park, right?
Mhm.
Web 2 is like great. You got roller coasters, you got loads of cotton candy, but like you're gonna pay $40 for a soda. Central Park, right? Maybe you don't have any roller coasters, but like this that's owned by everyone, right? Anybody can come, anybody can be there. You put down a blanket, you own that position for a second, and you can't really have like a cookout, you can't really have like you can't just invite your boys to Disneyland. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just things that you can't do in this old place where there's rules and there's the way that they're going to be like over your shoulder. This is like an open space where people can congregate, come together. No one owns it, but we work together as groups to build what we want, to enjoy it the way we want. And that's sort of how I think about Web3. It's like a new frontier. It's a shared space. Um, it's almost like a lack of ownership in that context. I feel like there's two sides of the coin of what Web3 means to people.
And one of the first big things we saw, you touched on,
Mm.
DeFi summer.
Yeah.
DeFi really came out earlier. I remember hearing about DeFi back in 2015, 2016, like early, just like
Yeah.
rumblings. And then 2017, 2018, hearing a lot more about
Yeah.
it. But that was just because I happened to work in tech and I would hear some of the developers on the floor who were really into those cutting edge technologies talk about it. And
Mm.
I just happened not to be really too interested,
Mhm.
to be honest, at the
Yeah.
time. Uh, but DeFi Summer, talk to me about it, Nick. I definitely wasn't participating at the time. I had no idea what was going on. But now when I look back at videos, it looked like it was crazy.
DeFi Summer. Oh wait, so I wasn't. So DeFi Summer, I think officially, and someone fact check me if I'm wrong here. I believe the official DeFi Summer was 2020. Right, so we went
Right.
into, and does that line up with what you think? Maybe we could fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it was the summer of 2020. Right, so we're coming off of the start of the pandemic. I guess people were just riled up, stuck at home, and what's the only thing you can do?
The Stimmy
Trade
checks.
stimmy checks. We're flipping them, dude. I know people that made
A
like
lot
people
off
we
of
went to
that. Changed
college
their
with that made
lives.
went buku like they made crazy money
Changed their
during this.
lives.
And the thing is that it was tough to perceive what things are actual like utility, right? Which are projects. I think that the coins that these people were trading, right, the decentralized finance, all of these coins were shares, portions of these companies that were just starting to come out, or protocols, right? And so there's loads of different people trying to find their fit, their product market fit. There's people
Yeah.
going up, going down, and there were times during that period where you could have bought things that like this past year were sky high. You could have bought them for pennies. You could
Right.
have bought
Mhm.
big projects for under $1 and watch them soar. But there have been sort of, I think crypto has sort of this 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 structure where it like sort of hypes up, collapse, right? And but whenever it
The
collapses,
cycle.
it never goes back to the size it was before, right? And it's about people building in those contraction periods that brings it to the masses,
Mhm.
right? People who are been right now, we're entering, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later. We're entering in a period right now where crypto's cooling off a little bit, and I think that's why it's important for us to be talking, right? We can say, hey, we're not bandwagoners. We started when crypto was down 50%, but also, it's important to build during these periods. This is when you need discussions. This is when the real builders come out. This is when it's not for the money. It's for the mission. It's for the meaning.
All right, but it's also for the money,
Yeah,
bro. It's also
yeah,
it's
hey, I'm doing
also
this for the
for.
bands. Like, I don't know what to
Let's
tell
be
you, buddy.
real as hell. Like it's most
Well,
people. No, but let's be real about it. Most people have heard some little kid on their block is
I'm
a
here for the
millionaire
art.
now. Some person they used to know got hundreds of thousands of dollars or a flip or
Not him in
bought their
Miami
mom their
again.
crib.
Oh, the Jets taking off
Or,
again. Oh,
or Gary V tweeted about another kid's life that he changed.
I
You
listened to a
know,
podcast with Gary Vee today. He was
and
nice. Gary
I
Vee's cool.
fucking love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Right? But most people hear about these things and
Yeah.
they go, I want it. Like I want a slice, right?
And I think also people hear about these things and they're like, you screw those dudes. Like why
And
are they like?
and I think so to finish it off, right? Because we're gonna go into a deep dive on DeFi in a later episode and
Yeah.
really try to understand what the hell it is. But what that summer did, which what all these cycles kind of do, is legitimize the ecosystem. That's a constant pattern that I keep seeing, right? So one of the big signs that's good news that I keep seeing people react well to, positive news, is
Mm,
when something happens and it legitimizes what's going on. And we're going to talk about what that type of news looks like later,
mm,
but DeFi Summers was one of those moments where you kind of just started hearing of people making
yeah.
tons of money, insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
but you also had people losing a lot of money. Let's be real. You had a lot of people coming
Yeah.
in, not doing their research, hearing, that people are just making money
Yeah.
and throwing money at it, seeing it go down 50%, taking their money out, and then what if they if they looked at it now, they'd be like Nick right now, and they would see that that coin is now 50x from the price that they bought, and they wish that they would have had the conviction to stay. But
We need to get the McDonald's hats for when that happens.
but nobody knew that's what was gonna happen. Like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of people making money, and a lot of those were early adopters who knew
Yeah.
what was going on, did their research, listened to podcasts, listened to other people who were talking about the space, and learning,
Hmm.
and learning what's going on. And what came next, I think, is what really excites both Nick and I. And I think
Yeah.
it's the one part of this podcast that we both are dying to get to, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy we're finally here,
Yeah.
is the 2021 NFT boom.
Yeah.
That was so big, and I missed out on all of it. I got to sit here and learn
Yeah.
about all of it and jumped in December. So
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we talk about it, don't feel bad. I missed out on all this money too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I missed out on most of it as well. I was just like, I was so very aware. I think I was just more aware of how much money I was not making. So,
So let's talk NFTs,
yeah,
non-fungible tokens.
yeah,
We spoke before the Web3 definition at the end. I'll say it just at the end, right? It includes cryptocurrencies, assets, or tokens. And this is where that tokens part comes in. So non-fungible tokens, the easiest way to explain it to the audience, and because there's so many videos and so many different ways to
hmm,
understand it, right? The way I like to understand it is that it is just digitizing anything you want and putting it on the blockchain. That's at its core, without getting into what
hmm,
industry
hmm,
you want to talk about, what type of utility. It is digitizing things that we're used to seeing in the physical world
yeah, yeah,
and on our Web 2 world, and putting it on the blockchain. And we're gonna get into so much more about NFTs.
yeah,
But for now, let's talk about what 2021 NFT boom was, and why it's now getting so mainstream, why it's all over the news, why you see all these celebrities talking about it. And it really has to do with some of the early ones,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Nick?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking, like, I'm just like thinking in my head. I was just like thought of like a startup idea, because I'm thinking about the stuff that happened last year. But yeah, yeah, NFTs, just digital asset. Just imagine, just like, how do you prove ownership of a digital asset? That's pretty much what an NFT is, right? It just proves you have ownership of anything that's could be on a blockchain, right? So pictures, audio, video file, a picture of a horse, like
Yeah.
these are all things that have been digitized. So we can just let's just spit out like NFTs that we
Yeah.
heard about in the last year. Two that I thought was crazy. One that like spurred my mind just now. So one was Zedrun. It was digital like horses. People were just racing them on the blockchain, and then they were like mating the horses, making new horses, selling those digital horses to other people. Bruh, people were buying horses for a lot of money. Yo, it was crazy. Do you people buy real horses? So why not a digital horse? Jiro, off to you.
I thought you were gonna start with one of like the big
Oh, the ones we had
ones.
listed? No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Oh, one of the big runs. Oh, don't disrespect Zedrun like that. Zedrun market cap. Oh, don't do that.
Okay, okay, okay,
Zedrun market
cool.
cap was crazy, buddy. Oh,
Okay,
never mind.
okay. I'll bring us back a little bit. One of the ones you've probably heard all over the news are things like Bored Ape Yacht Club,
Yeah.
CryptoPunks. In If you've heard of Solana at all, you might have heard of Solana Monkey Business.
Hmm.
You know,
NBA Top
so
Shot.
NBA
Uh,
Top Shot.
what I was thinking for them. Oh, wait, go. I have an idea
And
for NBA Top Shot.
and so one of the things I wanted to share here is one of the metaphors or examples that really for me made it click, and I hope maybe sharing this helps it click for some other people, because the biggest question that I see people ask is, well, why does it have any value whatsoever? Like, why is it worth anything? I don't understand why. And I get that, because I asked myself that too. And someone gave me the example, and they said Michael Jordan's, like, the ticket stub, like the physical one from one of his college games,
Hmm.
it's sold on the internet for like a few, like, tens of maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, something like two
Yeah.
hundred thousand or 100,000,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Because
But
it's
it
commemorative. You
sold.
were there. Yeah.
It sold for like that much, though, because they were able to prove that it was an actual ticket stub that they got from that thing. So not even that you get to like relive it, right? But
Hmm.
what? Right, and then what else do we have? We have trading cards, Pokemon cards selling for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000,
Hmm.
all these things, right? NFTs are just going to replace that.
Hmm.
And that's when it kind of clicked for me, in that, okay, it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel, it's just going to replace something that you're so used to seeing as a physical thing, as something that has been such a thing in society for so long, that it's going to be hard to think that anything can replace it. Now, these NFTs, Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, these are called like PFP, the profile picture,
Hmm.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
These had in the beginning no utility whatsoever. Someone said these
Not like.
10,000 monkeys, these apes look dope as fuck. I'm
Yeah.
gonna sell them for X amount of Ethereum each,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
10,000 people bought, or like not 10,000 people, but 10,000 of them. It sold out. It sold out, and it's hard to explain and summarize because so much happened, but the hype just got that big. That's probably the easiest way to do it, to say it, right? The hype just got that big where,
I mean, I think it's just luxury stuff, right? Like Lexus is made in the same like place as Toyota. Like people just like to ball out, you know?
yeah,
Like
well,
yeah,
it became that. It
yeah,
became we they became the top NFT in the ecosystem.
yeah.
And then
Except for
what
punks.
happened?
Punks are top. Punks are over. It's like punks,
Well, I'm saying
BAC,
those
BAYC,
those
yeah.
NFTs in general, like
Yeah,
those
yeah,
what
for
they
sure.
call
Yeah.
blue chip
Yeah,
NFTs. Blue chip
blue chip.
NFT being those that at this point have stood the test of time.
Yeah.
They are the top, the creme of the creme. You know, they exist now as a flex
Yeah.
because they're at the top. So what are they? The most expensive. So if you have a Bored Ape Yacht Club, a CryptoPunk as your Instagram profile picture, your Twitter profile picture, your Facebook, whatever, anywhere, somewhere, you got bread.
Yeah, yeah.
You got mad
Yeah.
bread.
Or honestly, some of them don't even have bread. They were just like lucky to get it earlier, but they have something that like is
No,
worth bread now.
but what I'm saying, that's what the flex is. Like, hey, I have this thing, this digital asset,
Yeah.
as my profile picture
Yeah.
that I could sell right now for
Yeah.
$200,000
Yeah.
and just bank that. But nah, this is me. Like, this is like, I'm flexing on you right now, and that's what it is. That's what it is a little bit. And on top of that, though, Bored Ape Yacht Club had a yacht party right in like South Manhattan, like right off the coast of South Manhattan. They hosted it like over there, and you had to have one of these NFTs. You had to be an owner of one of these NFTs to be allowed to go.
That's
And
wild.
so that is how like it kind of starts to go into the real world. So Jay Z has a CryptoPunk as his Twitter as his Twitter
Oh,
avatar,
and it kind
and
of looks like him too.
yeah, it does actually. It's kind of funny. Like these guys who they pick it up, like look for one that looks like
Yeah.
them. So it's pretty cool.
I got one that looks like kind of like me. I kind of like. It's good to like find one that looks like, yo, well, look at my little guy.
Yeah, I got a frog that's also like a undead
Don't no,
skull.
don't
I'm
play stuff like
degen,
that.
okay.
Oh no, not
Okay, but
the-
okay, so Zed Run, bro. You really wanted to tell me about Zed
Yo,
Run?
Zedrun, yo, I looked up the numbers. $43 million worth of sales in this past year on these horses, man. You were trying to doubt the game. You were saying, yo, I'm talking about major NFTs. Zedrun's big time, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
to give everybody an example, Bored Ape Yacht Club, I think, was valued the rumor at like $5 billion. So that little 63 million, whatever you said, pocket change to the 5 billion that
no.
Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Oh man. Okay. I'll pack it up. I'll pack it up. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on in this NFT space, and the thing that's interesting too, going back to the topic of like Web3 and like NFTs and having freedom to go anywhere, right? Remember, NFTs you might access them through a specific like portal, right? It's like Amazon, you go and buy products. There's a thing called OpenSea, right, where you would go and buy NFTs. But in the spirit of Web3, does OpenSea own the NFTs? No. Do they own your data? No, right? And so competitors can just access the blockchain and make a whole new front end, and that's actually what somebody sort of threatened to do and did, right? So they they started their own competitor, OpenSea, right? Because pretty much the backstory is in crypto, people expect to be rewarded, right? If you're starting a project and you're participating, you're working hard, people expect to be part of those big gains. You're not just gonna run off into the night with the money, right? And so when OpenSea decided to be raising money from private investors or in the public markets through equity as opposed to tokens, and they realized that the supporters wouldn't get supported there, um, somebody decided to do what's called an airdrop, right? They literally decided to start a whole new company, gave a portion of that company to all of the supporters of OpenSea and said, come over here because we actually fuck with you guys. And, and that's the kind of...
We gotta explain what an airdrop is to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
True.
So in this world, you have these wallets, and we'll get into wallets because the wallets is a whole different world. But just think about it as where you store things, and the airdrop is basically this company saying everybody's wallet is public on the blockchain. I could go look at everything Knyck's bought in the last year out of his wallets if I really wanted to. But I don't think I want to put myself through that.
Oh, man. Oh, no. Shook ones.
And so what OpenSea did is they basically checked everyone's wallet and said, hey, who's been using us? And this competitor said, oh, yeah? Hold up, I can do that too. And to kind of give people an example, this is as if somebody said, hey, eBay, everyone kind of hates you, huh? We're gonna just use your website, but put a fancy little skin on top of it.
Yeah.
And people like us better. And it's a little bit more complex than that, but it also isn't, because some of these OpenSea competitors are using OpenSea to process their transactions at the end of the day.
The thing is that these platforms, I mean, not to doubt on OpenSea, but it's not crazy rocket science, you know what I'm saying, to make the platform, you know what I'm saying? And so if they're accruing that much value and not sharing it with the users, some really smart users are going to be like, okay, cool, I can make a platform, I can make an e-commerce platform, I can hook up a connecting wallet button,
Oh, Knyck, you're telling me people in the NFT space don't want to share the millions of dollars they're making off of everybody minting their projects? No.
It all comes back to the bands at the end of the day. Oh no. So that's just a little bit of what's going on, a little bit of the dynamics. We're gonna dive deep into all the airdrops from last year, tell you guys about them, tell you how to find what's gonna happen with new airdrops, and that's gonna be one of our big focuses in one of the coming episodes. But what's gonna happen next, right? We've talked about DeFi, we've talked about Bitcoin, we've talked about Ethereum, we've talked about NFTs, and we've talked about a lot of stuff that's happened in the past. What is the future? There's a lot of huge stuff that's coming out this year, and one of the main focuses for this year, one of the main concepts is DAOs, right? So we got another 3-letter word for you.
All these
DAO.
3-letter words.
I'm sorry, I got one more for you. I know it's tiring, bro.
Let's help them out. DAO.
DAO. So it stands for
decentralized.
No. Wait, maybe.
It is.
No. I thought it was distributed.
No, it's decentralized.
Oh, I bet you 1 ETH. I bet you 1 ETH. I bet you.
In this market, you want to bet that, right?
What does DAO stand for?
We're live. We're live.
Oh no. Cut the podcast.
Where's my ETH? He really swore.
Okay. Oh god.
He really
Oh God,
Lord.
I should have bet a soul.
He
I
googled
should
it
have,
and everything.
I should have bet a soul. Oh,
He
dude.
said, "Nah, I'm gonna get him real
Oh, I'm
quick."
down. Oh no.
Okay, so everybody,
Yo, okay, can we cut that? No, we're cutting that.
DAO. Nah.
We're cutting that. We're cutting
He's down bad.
down bad. Okay, so distributed, decentralized autonomous organizations.
Yes, decentralized autonomous organization,
Oh
otherwise
man,
known as DAOs, Nick.
yeah. Get out of here. I think I'm gonna I'm gonna get fired.
So, decentralized autonomous organizations. What are they? Like, why are they big this year? What the hell, right? So, the way I like to think about it is there's so much money in all of these NFT projects, like
Mm,
tons, like insane amounts. Because if I just do 1,000, which some of these projects do 5,000 NFTs,
mm,
10,000 NFTs, right? If I just do 1,000 and I sell at point 0.1 Ethereum, that's like what, $250 times 1,000?
yeah.
And some of these are doing even more than that, and
Mm,
they
mm,
get royalty fees on top of it. So there's just a lot of money in the market, and
mm,
DAOs have come in a really interesting time now, where all these projects are kind of deciding to say, "Hey, fuck it," in the spirit of
mm,
just saying "f you" to
yeah.
the banks and the centralized worlds and
Mm,
somebody having power. They're saying power to the people, and
yeah.
basically, there's polls on discords
Yeah.
to decide the fate of millions of dollars
Yeah.
and what they want to do with it. And what's really awesome about it in some cases is they're beating hedge funds. And they're beating
Yeah.
like all these big Wall Street firms, like they're beating them in their investments.
Yeah.
And that's like that is the money making positive side of DAOs, but there's also some dark and really funny side of DAOs. I don't know if you heard about it yet, Nick,
What?
but some of the DAOs where they're Instagram people who are just repurposing their profile pictures as NFTs and selling them, and the market floor selling at 5 Ethereum floors. So people in the audience, I'm talking about somebody just taking their Instagram pictures, making them NFTs and throwing some backgrounds on them,
Yeah.
and then people buying them for thousands and thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands of
I
dollars.
think this
And
is
Nick,
giving Daz a bad
the
name. I think
reason the reason that this is just so weird
yeah.
is because in some cases this
Mm,
is getting on the border of like, okay, is this about to replace OnlyFans? And that's a real question that we're going to have to ask
mm,
ourselves with every single industry.
mm,
Because in this case, with DAOs, right now it's having this moment where everything's a DAO.
mm,
Everything is a decentralized autonomous
mm.
organization.
Because it's really that like new formation structure, right? Like it's sort of like the new company, right? Instead of an LLC, instead of a Delaware C corp, this is the way people are now trying to build all of their companies, right? They're building like small fluid teams coming together, coalescing, and then breaking apart really quickly to just build quick projects. Um,
Yeah, but I don't know if you saw some of these LLC names during the pandemic, yo.
no, I don't.
Tito's like LLC, finna get hella money LLC.
I
Like,
don't. I don't co-sign Finnegan. Finnegan Money LLC had a strong business plan, and you know it, Joe.
and the same thing is kind of happening with DAOs right now
Yeah.
because so let's talk about one of the cool ones real quick.
Yeah.
Links DAO, right? So
Mm,
Links DAO is this decentralized autonomous organization in the sense of they are promising their community of people who invest in this that they're going to buy a golf course somewhere in the United States.
hey, it's lit.
But they're not going to give you membership to it.
Hey, yo.
They're gonna, they're going to give you the rights to pay them to have membership. And this is one of those luxury
Oh wow, big
things.
scam season. I like it.
So but when you really think about it, Nick, right?
Yeah.
When you look around the country, this DAO has a wallet of about 60 something million dollars.
I thought you said that wasn't a lot when Zedrod had it. I'm joking.
But when you compare it to the golf world, if you look at
Yeah,
some
no, that's
golf
big. That's
courses
big.
in
That's
like
serious.
some really luxury golf courses in like Florida, a very
How much is a
popular
golf
golf
course?
place, like 12 million. Just let me borrow that real quick.
Oh, we out. Oh, we out.
No, but in all seriousness,
Yeah,
it starts to make this organization a little feasible, right? If it has 60 some million in the bank in a wallet ready to use, ready to distribute. Well, after the market crash, they probably don't have 60 some million, but
yeah,
they had 60 some million in the bank to
yeah,
use, and golf courses cost about 12 million, like the luxury ones. Now, whether people want to sell them to you is another thing,
yeah,
but you have the money to buy it.
yeah,
That sounds like a pretty good business
yeah,
model to me, right? If you're going to invest in something now, whether that's profitable, whether you owning part of this to fund this project was worth it for you because you don't have 50 grand a year to pay them to
yeah,
go
yeah,
golf
yeah, yeah.
there. Like it's not really a thing for you and me right now, but if you or I
It
bought
could be.
this and then sold it to some rich guy in Florida who
Yo,
wanted to go,
speaking of buying and selling to a DAO, did you hear about Constitution DAO last year?
I
Dude,
I heard about you posting about this, and I want to give you props for being that early because I remember you posting about this on Instagram in your stories. Applause for Nick right now. He was very early in the DAO world. This man was posting about the Constitution DAO. Yeah, yeah. Party for Nick right now. This man tried to buy the U.S. Constitution
with the boys, with the boys
with
and
the
girls, with
boys
the
and
squad.
girls, with the squadron.
Yeah, with
Sorry,
the
explain to
squadron.
everybody
So,
the Constitution DAO.
like I said before, DAO is really just a small or big, really organization of people through the blockchain organizing to do pretty much anything, right? So this organization said, "What if we buy the U.S. Constitution?" It started off with memes, and it started snowballing, and there was a auction at Sotheby's, and they gathered together with the help of thousands of people really really quickly, nearly enough, almost just over $40 million to buy a
Wow.
copy of the U.S. Constitution, and we just lost it out to Big Griff,
Big
one of
Who the
the
hell is Big Griff?
you don't
And
know
how
Big
does
Griff.
he and how does he have more than $40 million?
Big Griff, he's one of the he's the guy that was the big villain of the GameStop series.
So you're
He's one of
saying
the
the
hedge fund.
United States doesn't own the
No,
Constitution?
no, no, no. So pretty much the Constitution has several copies, right? So 11 copies, original copies
Wow.
that were signed by the fathers, the founding copies. And
And
so
Big Griff said, "Y'all some broke boys.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
and he said,
mine."
"Get out of here. This is not yours." But what's funny is that in exchange, right, when we didn't win the Constitution, we received what were called tokens, right? Like this whole game, this whole ecosystem is founded on tokens. Those tokens, I spent maybe 125 going to buy the Constitution. I'm not like a big baller. I was like, okay, let me just put my little what's it called, a church congregation tithing. I just tithed a little bit. I was like, okay, cool, you guys got this. At the height of like last year's like energy, I think that those tokens were worth like close to like $1,600,
Whoa.
dude.
That's a big return on
And
investment.
I didn't return it. I'm still sitting on them because I truly believe those are gonna go down in history. That Constitution DAO was one of the huge, like, biggest stories of
Mm.
2021. I didn't sell my tokens. I think at some point these are gonna be like memorabilia items. So I didn't. I was up 10x, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna just rock with them.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing too, right? A
Yeah,
lot of these are gonna go down in history, and maybe years from now, somebody's gonna say, "Ooh, I want to own that."
yeah,
Right? The same way people go crazy over baseball cards and other collectibles in general.
yeah,
NFTs are just
yeah, yeah.
collectibles
I mean,
sometimes.
Ken Griffith beat us at the what was it? I guess GameStop won the first round, right? Big Griff came up, beat us in the second round. If we beat him in the third round, right, best of three, then these tokens are going to be part of history. So,
That would be
um,
cool. That would
yeah,
be
so
really cool to
so
see.
that's the exciting part there. But I'm super excited we were able to really start this podcast. I'm super excited to be discussing this stuff on a weekly basis, dropping new episodes. When are we dropping? What's our drop date? Every week we're coming to them live on Wednesdays
Yeah,
early.
Wednesdays you will be, hearing from us in the mornings. We want to be right there in the middle of the weeks for you to have probably sometime in the morning, right? Like
Yeah.
five, yeah. We'll see how early we want to wake up. Nah, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but you can expect us to be dropping these podcast episodes weekly on Wednesday mornings. We'll
Yeah.
be talking about a deep dives into some of the topics that we just covered from a high level in this podcast. You'll hear me and Nick pretty much try to roast each other sometimes. If maybe you come back for
I'm gonna
that.
lose more ETH. Okay, okay, put it on the scoreboard. You have to give me a chance to win it back. So I'm down 1 ETH right now. Audience, keep track.
Yo, somebody
Oh,
please make sure that we
this man
write
pays
down
me.
right now. You saw the no, but it was how sure he was that he
I
was
was
right.
so, and the thing is, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
But yeah,
Um,
this podcast is one that we've been waiting to make, and we're super excited to get started now.
yeah.
And we can't wait for our audience to just start interacting with us. And we want to hear from you guys on what you want to learn about, what you like hearing about, what kind of guests you want on here, because for us this is a passion project. We're learning the same way that you guys are, and everybody is, and
I'm learning what DAO stands for.
and we're seeing the same news that you
Yeah.
guys are, right?
Yeah, what
Right.
happened in the news this week? What were you excited about?
Okay, we can't have a crypto blockchain podcast
Oh
right
no.
now without talking about the big market crash, which I think maybe some people, yeah, you know what? I think
Put on mono.
I think
Put
I'm
on
gonna join you for this one.
no
The
no.
big
Da,
market
da,
crash.
da, da,
This
da.
is really bad. Okay, so let me tell you why this looks
Yeah.
really bad on me and why I'm so glad my dad is such a boomer,
Yeah.
right? Because I told my father that I was going to start investing into this right before the market
On
crash
January 9th.
on January 9th. Imagine. No, but I just mentioned it to him, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, tell me how it goes, like, throughout the next year." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, dad.
Yeah.
And then, like, this market crash happens. But so everybody out there who isn't aware, we saw really big drops in the values
A,
of a lot of these cryptocurrencies.
a
So
pullback of sorts.
we saw Bitcoin, which had reached an all-time high of like 60,000, right? Drop back down to almost 30 grand. I don't remember to see if it dropped under. I feel like that would have been huge news if it dropped under, but I think it was bouncing around there. Ethereum, which was in the 4,000s. I have a story about Ethereum, but Ethereum was like the 4,000s, dropping down to like near the 2,000s.
Oh,
Solana, that was reaching all-time
my
highs of
baby.
200 after being only like worth $2 in the beginning of 2021,
Yeah. Yeah.
back down to a lows of 80s, in some of those. And you hear these numbers and you're going, oh man, that sounds like a pretty volatile market. And you're right.
Yeah.
You're 1000% right. The reason that this is such a
Yeah.
big topic is because this happens all the time. We've
Yeah.
seen these market crashes
Yeah. Yeah.
before, and they make huge news all the time. What are you saying, Nick?
I think that it's interesting to know that there is a overall market pullback in general, right? Public market stocks are also constricting. I think it's worth noting that crypto has pulled back more, right? And I think it's also worth noting that people see crypto or tout Bitcoin and other, like platforms, as a hedge against volatility in the markets. And so when we see such a high correlation and even bigger drops in crypto markets, I think there are sort of questions, and so that's something that we're
Mhm.
going to be diving into in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Why are we seeing these pullbacks? What's the structure? How is crypto affected by overall market conditions? But it's definitely something that we're going to be talking about. Um, One thing I would note about these pullbacks, when the market is down, right? I think it's important to remember that it's a bad time for exits, but it's a really good time for entries, right?
Yeah. And one of the I think I don't remember where I learned this phrase, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty common. It's, you know, that time in the market is better
Mm.
than timing the market, right?
Mm.
Meaning that you're not always going to be able to buy the low and sell the high.
Mhm.
It's super easy to promise people that they're going to teach you how to do that, or try to sit down and say, I'm only going to buy the low, right? Like, people go to school for years and do it as like their full-time job, and they don't have the knack for it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so what we're seeing in this market is, if you just buy just all the time. Like, I know that sounds wild. I know, like, it's like, I know you're
This is
like,
wait, also just for the record, this is not financial
this is
advice.
not financial advice. We're not financial advisors. Do your own research.
Thank you.
This market's super volatile. You're gonna lose a lot of money.
Drew, buy all the time.
No, what I mean by buy all the time is you don't necessarily
Mhm.
worry too much about looking out for when the market's up or down. Every month you go, I'm gonna put $100.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that society is looking for in the crypto space that wasn't available for a long time, right, Nick?
Mhm.
Like, for a long time, it wasn't easy to get these coins, and now there's apps on your phone that you can get them in 5 minutes if you really
Mhm.
want to,
Mhm.
right? And so I think that's why this crypto market crash was bigger than ever, because so much more infrastructure exists, so much more accessibility exists, so many more people are using it, so it's even bigger news, right?
Mhm.
Um, but on some funner news, we had some celebrities recently that bought
Hey.
some of these NFTs. So one of the things that actually is cool about the market crashing a little bit i- is when the coins go down in value. That means that these NFTs get cheaper. You would think that people would just charge more, Ethereum, or charge
One
more
ETH is
Solana,
one ETH.
but no, like that. It doesn't necessarily. There's this ideology in the ecosystem that one Ethereum is one Ethereum, one Solana is one Solana, and some people say it still accept fiat money like U.S. dollars, and they understand, hey, we still live in a society where I need to pay my rent, pay my bills. I have kids that need to go to school, and
Yeah.
I have a wife, or all this, whatever, like all these things. But there are also people who've got so much of this stuff, or they just have this conviction on these
Mhm.
coins, that they said, nope, I don't care. One Ethereum is one Ethereum.
Yeah.
And these projects don't automatically start, selling for double the amount just because the market crashed. So
Yeah.
what you see is this opportunity for people to come in and buy what would have been really, really expensive NFTs for a pretty large discount right now.
Yeah.
And Nick,
All
I
my
know you were
NFTs
telling me
are
about
up.
a few. I know you were telling me about a few celebrities that bought some, right?
Yeah. I think today I mean it's probably gonna be what is it now? No, it's last Friday. Last Thursday. Oh, I'm terrible at this. Yeah, last Thursday, Justin Bieber bought into the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and everybody's laughing because he bought in like at 500 ETH, which is I guess 4 times over the floor, and it's like a really really basic one, but I say more power to the Beebs. He's part of the squad now, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see. Also, there's some major names like Serena Williams just changed her profile picture to a CryptoPunk. We've got Shaq with some sort of Solana creature. I think
He did make something really crazy. No, you
he
know
picked
what? They
something
made that
wild.
for him. They made
Oh
that. That was
yeah,
like a
that
that
was
was like
good.
a
That's a really
tribute to
good.
him.
That's an
Yeah, it was a
actual
cool
that's
tribute
a
one.
good strategy. I mean, everybody tries to do it, so it's good that they actually got him
Yeah.
to use it. Um, and you mentioned earlier Jay Z, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah,
Jay Z's a big one. I keep mentioning it. I think to me that was the biggest one, because Jay Z is one of those people who are almost never too active in social media. Like, you don't really see him post all that much,
mm,
but he's there.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's there, and so I think that's why whenever he does anything, it's a big deal.
mm, mm, mm.
And to see an NFT there kind of shows you that, I mean, it's a billionaire right there, right? So if this billionaire is saying it's worth me buying this asset, I think it's worth people doing their research into if they should do it, right? And I
Yeah,
think that's what all these celebrities getting these NFTs are. Part of it's a money grab.
yeah,
Part of it's always a money grab. It used to be, hey, buy this protein shake, buy these T-shirts, my merchandise, buy
Flat
this.
tummy NFT.
But
Ooh, I'm at,
it used to be a lot, right?
yeah,
Now it's NFTs, but there's also celebrities and people who are 1000% really, really into the ecosystem, really into what's happening. They understand where this is going, and they just want to participate. And I
yeah.
think that's really cool. It's that is making headlines.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure, for sure. Speaking of just like influencers in the space, we have a portion, we have like a segment that we're going to be doing each week. Who we think you should follow, you know, like who to follow each week, the WTF section. So we're going
The
to be
WTF section is my favorite thing. When you proposed this, Nick, I was so excited. I cackled in real life.
who
You
to
know, people
follow.
LMAO and then they just kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah. I cackled in real life when I heard that because I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
cute. That
yeah.
actually makes sense. So yeah, the who to follow section. Take it away, Nick.
Yeah. So we're gonna be putting on, you know, people that we think are really influential, great educators, just have like really good either alpha, which is like pretty much like who has knowledge ahead of time. And so the first person I'm gonna be putting up for WTF is a Twitter user, Katie Wave. So it's KATIEWAV, and we'll be posting all the links to their content in the note description under the podcast. But she's a venture investor at Coinbase, talent scout at the Friends with Benefits DAO, and she has a really really great primer on Web3. Just guides you through all of the different like details, the different ecosystems, and it's probably something that helped me a lot learning. And will definitely help you if you're new to this and just want to get up to date on terms and you want to get up to date on, you know, like sort of how the ecosystem works.
Cool, cool, yeah. And so this week I have somebody that me and Nick both know,
Ooh.
and this person is Giancarlo buys tokens.
Oh.
Giancarlo is another fraternity brother of ours who was really early into the NFT space, and he's decided to create content and let everybody know
Destiny.
how he did it, what he does, what he's thinking about doing in the future, and just gives his take on it. This man has 88.6 thousand subscribers now on YouTube. Give it up to the boy.
Hey.
And I just wanted to call him out. Yeah, so we'll have his YouTube channel in the description. And that's Giancarlo buys tokens. Giancarlo is Giancarlo buys tokens. I have been watching him religiously. I'm subscribed. I actually think he moved to like Cali, and I haven't spoken to him in a while. He was older than me when I got to college,
Yeah.
but I love the fact that I'm seeing him do big things, and
Yeah.
he's always educating people. I think it's really cool that he, is just letting you know exactly how he got into it, and he switched up his entire career. He quit his job and went full on into NFTs, and 1 year
Yeah.
later, it
Yeah,
worked
he's
out.
he's crushing it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
the funny part is that we mentioned earlier that we had like a friend in college that was really into Bitcoin. It was not Giancarlo.
it was, it was
A
not
complete, it was a
Giancarlo.
completely unrelated dude. Yeah, he came from behind to win the championship.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a great follow too. Awesome content over there, and I think one of our major goals for the podcast is hopefully one of these days we'll be able to have some of our WTF segment features as guests.
Yeah.
So yeah, so hopefully that, you know, that's a target for the podcast, and hopefully we can cut this clip up whenever we get either of them on in the future. And so super exciting there. That was the first episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Once again, this is the Kickbox podcast. I'm Nick.
I'm Dro, and thank you for listening in to the Kickbox Podcast.
Hey, we're out.
Hey, first episode done. Let's go.